legally to round up immigrants who outlawed volleyball because it's what the Ecuadorians played, yet this was still his line. The leadership put together a flyer saying, "Don't worry folks, this is just to go after the criminals. This is not for law-abiding citizens." And they held a meeting with the local chief of police, and that was about it. The demonstration was 8,000, but people didn't even bring their own signs, they didn't have their own chants, everybody was totally new. We were handing out flyers that said, "For a world without borders," and people used that as a placard because it's all they had, right? So the leadership was there, was what was there, and that was it, and it moved on. But it was not the only resistance, there was opposition all over the place. In Virginia, you had a demonstration of 15,000. In another location that escapes me, I think it was, I'm forgetting which town, there was a demonstration of 6,000 when they tried to pass the 287G program. So that's Mayor Boughton. And that's what the 287G attempt looked like. Now, after this happened, Mayor Boughton went on a speaking tour with Mayor DeStefano of New Haven, who was known for passing the Sanctuary City model and the New Haven ID Act. And Mayor Boughton would get up there and say, "I'm worried about the American worker. I want to make sure they're going to get jobs, and I want to defend the rule of law." And DeStefano would say, "Well, look, these immigrants, they're hardworking people, they're good people, they haven't done anything to anybody, they contribute to the economy. There's got to be a way for them to come here legally." And he never said that they should have equal rights to everyone else living here. It's they got to have a way to come here legally. And there was a third person from the Manhattan Institute, and she got up and said, "Well, gee, guys, you know what? This is why we need comprehensive immigration reform. We can have a temporary worker system where folks can come here legally, like DeStefano wants, and they won't be violating the law, like Boughton wants." And I don't think she even explained how it's not going to take jobs from American workers, but that was beside the point. And that was going on all across Connecticut. And I'm sure if people listened to the Heritage Report, that was going on all across the country. So that sets the tone. Now Obama comes in. And here's where I think it's important to look at what Boughton did in Danbury, because Boughton anticipated Obama. When Obama got into office, he said, "I'm not going to go after all immigrants. I'm going to target the criminals." He did exactly what Boughton said that Boughton was going to do. And Obama looked at all these 287G programs, and he said, "Geez, that gets kind of messy. In fact, we almost entered a situation where the immigrants, we had another May 2006. So he first did actually expand the 287G programs, but then he backed up a bit, and he put something forward that's a little more realistic. He put forward the Secure Communities program. And he seems to have found the most effective way of going after immigrants. According to a recent Mother Jones article, as of September of 2012, Obama had deported 1.06 million immigrants. Sorry, 2011, September 2011. Bush, in his entire time in office, deported about 1.5 million immigrants, which means that by the end of his first term, Obama is set to deport as many immigrants, if not more, as Bush deported in his entire 8 years. So we need to look at what Obama has done here. He has taken Boughton's lead, and he has said, "I'm going to take a page from the new Jim Crow. I'm not going to target all immigrants. I'm only going to go after the criminals. And I'm going to say to the immigrants themselves, I'm only going after the people who are harmful in your community." Now, if you actually look at who he has deported, over half of them have no criminal record whatsoever. So he's already deporting more non-criminals than Bush deported altogether. And I think there's a lot to learn from Michelle Alexander here. Because when the government says they're going after criminals, it requires us to say two things. We have to say that person is not a criminal, and we have to say, you do not have the right or the ability to define who a criminal is. And that takes a lot. That is a higher threshold of proof on politics on our part than simply saying, we are immigrants, we are not criminals. They're saying, okay, yeah, not all immigrants are criminals now, only some. So, and as Michelle Alexander pointed out, this does mean that we have to defend even some really awful people who do some awful things. Because just because someone's a criminal doesn't mean the Bill of Rights does not apply to them. Doesn't mean they do not have the same rights as everybody else. And if we allow a particular caste of people to have their rights stripped away, it will only mean that the living standards for the rest of us are turned down, and that we're next, pretty much. So